Hey YouTube, what's up? NJ Retro here. Kind of getting in late on the game for the top 5 most nostalgic games to me growing up. Everybody's kind of been tagged already and it's already been done, but I just wanted to chime in and give you my top 5 most nostalgic games, because after watching lots of people do their videos, it kind of struck home and it made me reminisce a little bit about when I was really young. And like I mentioned before, we were a Commodore 64 family. Didn't have an NES growing up, but did play it later on. And from there we went into, the Sega Genesis and into the Super Nintendo, and onward past that I ended up with a Sega Saturn. My top 5 most nostalgic though, not in any real big particular order, but we'll start it off pretty simply with the Games series on Commodore 64. Here I have World Games, Winter Games, and Summer Games too. But pretty much we had all of them when I was growing up. California Games, Summer Games 1 and 2, World Games, Winter Games. And some of these were on other platforms. Nintendo had a couple of them. And I think Genesis had Winter Games maybe. But these games were just a load of fun. I played with my brother, who's 10 years older than I am. And when his friends were over, we used to just go through these, and there was tons of great stuff like the high dive cliff diving event, the hacky sack in California Games, the frisbee toss in California Games. There was just tons of them. I guess it was a decathlon or something like that, where you were cross country skiing, and then you had skeet shooting, and they were just a load of fun. Really simple games. One of my favorite arcade-style games on the Commodore 64 was Moon Patrol. This game's been ported to a bunch of different systems. I have, obviously, the most nostalgia for the Commodore 64 version, because we had this growing up. And just good arcade fun. Your little tank, moving side to side, basically moving right constantly, and it's almost like a horizontal shooter, you'd say. You got enemies coming, and you have obstacles to jump over. You can either shoot straight up out of the tank or straight ahead out of the tank. And I just remember the music being very simple, and the sound effects were very arcadey. I used to love this game, played it a lot. We've got my first foray into RPGs, which I fell in love with RPGs after playing stuff like this, and then growing into the Super Nintendo and all the amazing 16-bit RPGs that were on the system. And that is Gateway to Obshai. I played this game a lot as a kid. Now this game came out, in 83, so it's before my time. I was born in 83. But we had it on the Commodore, and I remember playing this at about maybe 6, about age 6 or so, and just falling in love with it. It's very simple. The graphics are very simple. And you're just this little guy with a sword, and you're dungeon crawling. And as you move along the map opens up into new rooms. And you have enemies like snakes and giants and ghosts and all kinds of stuff, and it's just fantastic. You can find treasure, and sometimes the treasure chests are booby-trapped. So it was just a load of fun, and it was randomly generated. So every time you played this game, the dungeon changed, and it had like 100 levels of dungeon that you could proceed through, and it was just fantastic. Very well put together, controlled very well. Can't say much more about it, just great. My second big foray into RPGs was Battletech on the Commodore 64. This game blew me away as a kid. It had anime-style graphics for the characters. I don't know if you can see that there. And then the graphics themselves for Commodore were just fantastic. You got to be this little guy walking around, and you could go and get armor and weapons, and you'd end up going to training to be a mech pilot. And you could get different mech, and you'd basically just wander this huge open world, which to me was gigantic at the time. And you fight against other mechs, and it's an action RPG. Like, it's real-time fighting, and it was just fantastic. This was the first game, getting back into retro gaming, that I scooped up for the Commodore 64, because I just played so much of this. And it's still great to this day. Every time this intro scene opens up, when it loads up and the music kicks in, I get goosebumps. And lastly, is Secret of Mana. which a lot of people love this game. It's very popular. It's not a hidden gem or anything like that, but between me and my friend Mark and my friend Tarek, we played this to death. I can't even tell you how many times we beat it, both multiplayer and single player. I played this a lot by myself. I still play this. I still have no trouble throwing this in the system, starting from scratch and running right through it, turning it off and doing it all over again. This game is amazing. The music is fantastic. The controls are sharp. I like the wheel system for items and magic. I wish they used that more frequently in RPGs. It's just simple and it works, and the graphics are gorgeous, and yeah. It's multiplayer. It's a multiplayer RPG. How awesome is that? Get to play with 2 other of your friends, you know? Like, that's just super cool. And I guess that's about it. That's my top 5 most nostalgic games growing up. I'd like to hear from other people. I guess I'll tag somebody if it's still, you know, worth doing so. And I guess I'll tag Square Painter, Adam. I'd like to hear what your top 5 nostalgic games are. And, I don't know. I can't really think of anybody else. But if you want to make one, and then let me know that you did, because I'd love to see it. So that's it. NJ Retro, out.